So hello, everybody. Thank you very much for the invitation to speak today and at this auspicious event that I'm very pleased is happening on Buddhism, the religion of peace, the religion of peace and harmony. Peace and harmony are two words that are spoken a lot these days, obviously everybody wants peace and everybody wants harmony, but unfortunately around the world there's much lack of peace and lack of harmony as well. So us Buddhists, we try to, we should try our best to create this peace, first of all in our own mind, and harmonize our own mind, and then obviously radiate it outwards and try to help people, including fellow Buddhists, but also people of all different backgrounds and religions, belief systems, and so forth, and try to be a good influence so that they too can develop this peace and this harmony. Of course, the peace, like I said, the peace and the harmony has to start in our own mind. For instance, we have to develop it inside our mind to feel it ourselves. Then we can radiate it honestly outwardly. So I'll just start with a few verses, a few prayers in English. I'm sure there's been more chanting done in Pali language and other languages as well. So I will do these short verses in English and then start the speech or continue the speech. Once again, thank you so much for the invitation today. May I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha. Homage to the awakened ones. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from the happiness beyond suffering. And may they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. We shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire us to be able to do so. We take refuge until we're enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And through the positive potential we create by practicing the Dharma, may we soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. Reverently, we prostrate with our body, speech, and mind, and present every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. We confess all of our negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. We dedicate the virtues of ourselves and others to the great enlightenment. And so, a little story of the pebble in the pond. I'm sure that you're aware of this. The pebble, the person who throws the pebble into the pond is the initiator. This is where it starts. Then once the pebble hits the water in the pond, the ripples, they go everywhere. So this is just like developing the peace and harmony in our own mind first. And then we can affect others around us, and including all of nature as well, including, for instance, water. There was some experiment done many years ago, I think in Japan. And when there is peace, when there is loving kindness around the water, for some reason, it actually stayed more pure for a longer period of time. And when there was discord and a lack of harmony around the water, then it actually got very dirty very quickly. And I can't remember the name of the scientists that were doing it, but I remember hearing that story many years ago. So if we ourselves develop this peace and this harmony, then we can affect nature around us as well. And of course, it's difficult to understand for many people, but I think it's if you just think about it a little bit deeper than the normal worldly ways, you can see that if you are peaceful yourself, if you are in harmony yourself, then others around you and then all of nature and so forth can be affected in a positive way. Now, we say in the heading that Buddhism is the religion of peace, the religion. important words there of peace and harmony. Of course, there are many other people in the world, maybe not Buddhists, that are peaceful and in harmony as well. And so we say that the religion, how does it begin? Buddhism obviously began with the Buddha, Buddha Gautama, or Sakyamuni Buddha, we call as well. Now, Sakyamuni Buddha, or Buddha Gautama, is the initial influence, the initial causer of peace, by teaching the Dharma and encouraging and influencing the students to practice the Dharma. He said that is nothing more than what we can be if we utilize our abilities and realize our true potential. So here's the example. And then, of course, there's the other examples of his major disciples, the Arhants at the time, Bodhisattvas, and of course, the great masters throughout the ages are the wonderful influences for us, the examples for us to be able to practice. Very important that we know this. So it starts from the Buddha being so wise, compassionate, or ultimately wise and compassionate and peaceful and in harmony with everyone and everything. And so if we follow the Buddha's way, then we too can be like this. Of course, we're very limited at the moment, and that's why we have to practice. That's why we have to practice the Dharma. First of all, we have to know the purpose of why we're practicing the Dharma, the reason for it. Obviously, if we use the title for today's conference, then is to create the peace, to create the harmony in yourself and then around you as well. Okay, so, but obviously the reason why we practice Dharma is to be eventually like the Buddha, is to attain what we call enlightenment ourselves. But at the moment, maybe the purpose is to improve ourselves, slowly, step at a time, breath at a time, improve ourselves. And so that you could say that is our purpose. And then, of course, we need the methods on how to do this, how to achieve this. And then, of course, we need to implement those methods. So we need to practice morality. We have to abstain from having an unwholesome state of mind and engaging in immoral acts of the body and of the speech. And we need to engage in moral acts of the body and the speech and maintain as much as possible a wholesome state of mind. And then, of course, we need to practice meditation. It's important. There are different types of meditation to develop, the different levels of concentration, obviously, and realize samadhi, samatha, and calm abiding. And then, of course, we have the vipassana meditation as well, the penetrative insight meditation, where we can utilize our ability to investigate thoroughly and analyze the teachings, and also analyze phenomena, including mental as well as physical phenomena, so that we can start to realize the nature of conditioned phenomena, first of all, which is, of course, is impermanent, has the nature of being unsatisfactory, and has no self-identity, no self-nature. But then also eventually work our way to realizing the ultimate reality. You could say the ultimate reality of emptiness, or the Buddha nature. Okay, so the methods taught by the Buddha help us to go along the path like this, but we ourselves must put them into practice. So we must practice the Dharma, we must implement the methods that we need to be able to realize a purpose, realize our goal. Very, very important. And so, as I mentioned, the Buddha and his disciples, Bodhisattvas, and the great masters throughout the ages are our great inspiration. And we should never be disheartened, even though we are now imperfect and now very limited. Don't be disheartened by that, but rather than be disheartened by that, really be inspired by the stories of these great masters throughout the ages, and especially the Buddha. Okay, and really develop, really take genuine refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The Buddha, the great physician, the Dharma, the supreme and immaculate medicine that we need to take so that we can purify our minds and the like. And then also the supportive Sangha of Buddhist practitioners. that help us and encourage us as well to keep practicing, and help us if we are making mistakes along the way to be able to correct us as well. And so Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, very important that we take genuine refuge. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Or in Pali, of course, we say Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Sangham Saranam Gacchami. In English, you can simply say, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. Or if you really want to translate it all into English, I take refuge in the enlightened one or ones. I take refuge in the teachings of the enlightened ones, and I take refuge in the supportive, harmonious spiritual community of practitioners. Okay, so it's really important that we do this, and all the way up to enlightenment. Some people I've heard in the past say, oh, refuge, that's the first thing we do. Yes, it is the first thing we do, but we must continue to do so. So often if we're having problems with our practice, for instance, a lot of teachers will say, go back to taking refuge. You need to really take refuge more. Maybe your refuge is a little bit fragmented, unstable right now. So you need to make it stronger, make it more firm. So that's really important, okay? Included in refuge, of course, is having faith and confidence in the three jewels, in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And you shouldn't have blind faith, or you could say blind confidence either. This is through logical reasoning, through investigating and analyzing the qualities of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, so that you can really know and really have faith in that which is real, and really have an understanding of the qualities, okay, the good qualities, enlightened qualities. And then, of course, if you do that, then you yourself can work towards emulating these qualities. It will give you a lot of inspiration to practice more and more and more, okay? And then, of course, you can get to the stage eventually of having no more doubts with your faith and your confidence in the qualities of the Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha. And when you have these three types of faith together, this is what we call perfect faith, perfect confidence. So that's faith in the qualities, you could say, of the teacher right now, or using this example, the three jewels. And then you can have faith in emulating, wanting to emulate these qualities yourself. And then having the faith of conviction, where there's now no more doubts, because you've thoroughly analyzed and you've put the teachings into practice. And then you have these three together, that is perfect faith. So I hope that makes that clear. I'll move on a little bit. Okay, so I've written myself just a few notes so that I can finish the things that I have here to say. So follow and practice, very, very important. I've mentioned that already. And then, of course, we have to understand the law of cause and effect. This is something that all Buddhist practitioners, we should work our way towards understanding, and then try to help others, whether they're Buddhist or not, to understand this. Every living being wants happiness and wants to avoid suffering. But so often, us human beings and other creatures as well, don't engage in the causes of happiness and don't avoid the causes of suffering. Are more, you could say, ordinary beings. We tend to fear the effect, have an unhealthy fear of the effect blindly, and not a healthy fear of the cause. Because if we want to avoid the effect, we must abandon the cause. And so if you want happiness, then you must engage in the causes of happiness, such as being generous, being moral, being patient, making the effort and having enthusiasm in the right direction, developing concentration, developing wisdom, developing loving kindness and compassion, empathetic joy, and a mind of equanimity. And so, very important that we realize this. And if you want to avoid suffering, then you have to start to purify your mind of the three poisons of ignorance, attachment, and aversion. And also, every time your mind gets unwholesome thoughts or unwholesome attitudes, such as these, or jealousies, or arrogant pride and the like, then you must eradicate them. You must totally eradicate them from your mind at that time. Eventually, it will start to become more natural to be able to do so. The more we practice, the more we develop, you could call momentum in the practice, then it starts to become more natural for us. Eventually, it becomes this natural habit, you could say, because it's still a habit at that time, okay? And so important to understand the law of cause and effect. Then this way you can, like I mentioned before, you can influence others in a good way. If you yourself practice well, then others around you, even if you don't talk to them about these things, they will feel some sort of nice feeling around you. They may feel very safe around you. And I think this then will reflect back on you, and you will feel calm and peaceful and realize that you are being a good influence, and then you will do it more and more and more. Okay, so I mentioned very briefly before generosity and the far-reaching attitudes. So generosity, we need to give material aid to living beings that need it. So definitely provide things that are needed for those in need. And also, you know, for the young, for instance, you can help them by nurturing them and teaching them and guiding them well. And for the people that are getting older in life, we must really care for them. It's very important that we do this. You know, at the beginning of our lives, we are totally reliant upon other beings, our parents especially. And towards the end of our lives, we're also very dependent upon others. So right through the life, when we can, when we have the vitality, mentally and physically, we should help others. This is really important. And generosity is the first step in doing this, okay? So be generous by giving material aid. Also be generous by helping others to be free from fear. So giving the protection from fear. Because all living beings have so much fear. Fear not getting what they want, fear of losing what they have, that they think they want, fear of getting things they don't want, and many, many other types of fears. We should try to help them to be free from these fears. Then also the generosity of giving the Dharma. Of course, you can give this formally by giving Dharma teachings, but also just giving the truth. Whenever somebody is on the wrong path or has the wrong view of something, help them kindly, patiently, gently to realize the truth of something. Or even something as simple as growing their own vegetables. If they're struggling financially, maybe their nutrition that they intake is not good enough for their health, and they actually then can learn to be more self-sufficient when it comes to their finances and also looking after their health. If they don't know how to do it and you know how to grow vegetables, then show them. You know, something as simple as that. Even something as simple as mathematics. If they don't know mathematics very well and you do, then you can share this with them. Even though this is related more to worldly things, it's still very helpful and truthful from a relative point of view. But ultimately, of course, giving the Dharma teachings. Then, of course, we should be moral, obviously moral. I mentioned this before. We should avoid engaging in any actions of the mind and the body of the speech that are unwholesome. We should engage in wholesome acts of the mind, of the body, and of the speech. And we should benefit others, really work to benefit others. And so be disciplined in doing that. So you could say this morality is first of all dropping or abandoning that which needs to be abandoned, and then adopting and practicing that which needs to be practiced and adopted. The wholesome mind, in other words, and wholesome actions of body and speech, and also benefit others. Benefiting others not only feels nice for you and they get some benefit from it, but also helps you to drop this attachment to self, this ego. this false belief in a separate self. So by practicing like this, you're also diminishing the attachment to self, and therefore the root cause of suffering, really. Also, we must be patient. Patience is very, very important when we want to develop peace and harmony for ourselves and for others and radiate it outwards. We need to be patient even if we are being harmed. For instance, if somebody is physically harming us or abusing us verbally, we need to be patient with that. Of course, that doesn't mean we don't stop it happening, but we need to look after our mind and not be reactive mentally, not be reactive with states such as anger and so forth, okay? Be patient with that. Like I said, it doesn't mean you don't change it. You don't remove yourself from that situation, but be patient mentally with that. Also, I'll give you an example, I'll paraphrase from the Buddha. There was a time when the Buddha was abused by others, and he would just say that this actually, if somebody gives you a gift, you don't have to receive that gift. So just like I don't have to receive your negative energy right now, for instance, then it remains yours. Or another one which I liked, especially when I was younger, is he said, you abusing me is like you trying to spit on the sky. What happens if you try to spit on the sky? Comes back on your own head. So actually, you can use some of these stories like this. Also, one that I made up years ago in relation to martial arts practice, Aikido especially. If somebody throws a punch at you, you don't stand there and just accept it. You can get out of the way. You don't stay in the way. And then that punch and that force and that aggression, you don't soak it up yourself. You remain peaceful and patient. So there's a few different examples that you can use for the times when it's difficult in life and maybe others are attacking you, or you're finding it difficult to be patient at that moment. Think about these types of stories and amuse yourself a little bit. It's actually very healthy for us to laugh at ourselves because of our imperfections. Laugh at our faults. That don't turn your back on them, but laugh at them and say, aha, there's that fault, there's that old habit again. Let it go. And in fact, another thing I can say is negative emotions such as anger. I like to say that they're very shy. And what I mean by that is that as soon as you pay pure awareness, let's say anger is arising for whatever reason, and just before it starts to get really, really full-blown anger, which is very difficult to relinquish, but just as it's starting to rise, you pay pure awareness to that and go, there's that old habit. As soon as you pay that pure awareness, the anger melts away. That's why I like to say it's actually very shy. So the negative emotions, they're actually not real. They're just habitual tendencies that we ourselves can diminish and eventually eradicate. We also need to be patient when we experience obstacles, especially on the Dharma path. We will experience obstacles because we've created these obstacles. These are the results of our previous karma. And as we work to purify our minds, then of course, these obstacles will arise. Maybe these are effects now that are smaller than they would have been if we weren't working to purify the mind, if we weren't practicing the Dharma. Okay, so obstacles on the path are part of the path. Don't see them as separate and as in the way of the path. Okay, then of course we have to be patient with the nature of reality, isn't it? Because we don't understand it yet. The nature of the teachings, the deeper teachings of the Buddha, we may not be able to perceive them clearly yet, realize them yet. So in a sense, you could say when we say patient with the nature of reality, really what we are doing is being patient with ourself, our limited self right now. And then we can, with this patience, remember patience is actually a very strong state of mind, very stable, very flexible, able to deal with anything that arises that we're confronted with. And also very humble, mind of humility as well is included in this patience. Then when we are more patient, we're able to then persevere with our practice, make the great effort, and be enthusiastic and joyful in this practice. And then, of course, as we do this, we can develop the concentration more and more with this generous mind, with this moral mind, with the patient mind, and with enthusiastic and joyful mind of effort, we're able to develop the concentration. With concentration, we're then able to utilize this concentration to be able to perceive, to investigate, you could say, and analyze phenomena and yourself, your own mind, and then eventually start to develop the wisdom, the prajna paramita. Okay. Also, we also need to practice what we call Brahmavihara, and this is also known as the Four Immeasurables. Brahmavihara, you could say, it could be translated as sublime states, but we also call them Four Immeasurables for many reasons, actually, but I'll mention it just a couple now. Immeasurable because they can be developed beyond measure, and to an unlimited level, you could say, beyond level even, okay? And then also that they will benefit innumerable living beings in the long run. And these are metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha, or in English, universal loving kindness, universal compassion, universal empathetic joy, and equanimity, or non-biased mind, mind that is free from attachment and aversion. And so if you can practice all of these together, of course, that's fantastic. They are all based on equanimity, of course. So there's no bias in the practice of loving kindness. That's why I like to use the word universal there. And also no bias with the practice of compassion. And likewise with empathetic joy. So may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near and aversion from the far. And let us make the effort to cause this, okay? And due to this merit, may we soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious bodhicitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. So thank you very much for giving me some time today to have a little chat. Hopefully that's some things you can think about. And I look forward to watching and hearing the other speakers' speeches as well. And good luck with the rest of the conference. And all the best. Peaceful regards with metta, maha metta from Phillip Island here in Victoria, Australia.